All right. It's right at 11:30. It looks like everybody's joined with their audio, so we'll go ahead and get started. Welcome and thank you for joining our Tech Talk, How to Catch a Fish. We are joined by Eric Vicencio, partner at Eder Casella Technology, who will be sharing exactly what phishing is, the current trends, and what to do if you accidentally click on something. Should you have any questions throughout the webinar, please put them in the chat and I will be watching that. We'll be sure to answer them at the end. This webinar is scheduled for 30 minutes and we're going to try to stick as close to that as possible. So I'll go ahead and turn it over to Eric.
Thank you, Rachel. All right, so down to business. We're going to talk about phishing. And we're not talking about fishing and everybody loves to be out there catching fish. This is actually the cybersecurity portion of phishing. And I'll go over what it is and kind of give you some ideas on how you can protect yourself and what to do if you accidentally click on something like Rachel said. All right, so about me. I'm the partner and CIO here at Eder Casella Technology. I've been in the industry over 15 years. I specialize in a lot of different areas. Just an overall nerd. Anybody that talks to me knows, I like to dive deep into quite a few things. Security, just general compliance or infrastructure, things of that nature. So let's talk about crime. So crime has actually changed over the last couple of years. You probably noticed that there's quite a few different faces of crime nowadays. One of them being like these cyber criminals that are trying to do something. We don't know what they're trying to do, right? They're trying to get money out of us. So when we think about crime, we probably are thinking about mobsters, people breaking into your house. We don't think about people trying to break into your computer. This is what we kind of think about cyber criminals. We think about some kid in their parents' basement, just clicking away at the keyboard, trying to hack in somewhere. We don't really know what that looks like, right? So these are some of the images that are out there on the web, and people really just kind of think that this is what these individuals look like. But in reality, it's not. Reality is truthfully that it is they're companies nowadays. These companies are overseas, they're everywhere. It doesn't take much. These kids or adults of all ages will actually subscribe to things that will actually help them hack you or get in or sell your data. And we'll go over that too. Cybercrime is over $1 trillion industry. They make a lot of money. They're making more than most movies nowadays, right? Every day, there's so many cybercrimes that occur. It would just make your stomach bottom out if you heard about these companies that are losing data. And there's some easy ways that we can actually start to combat these criminals. I always like to start my seminars by telling people who's the target. So one of these, the numbers on the screen, you'll see it's an IP address. It's a public IP address. That, in a lot of ways, is like your street address at your home, right? Everybody has a street address, no matter where you live. And that's kind of how IP address is. That's basically the internet's way of having a street address. One of these IP addresses is a multinational company. Tons of money. One of the other ones is an IP address that's here in McHenry County. Can you tell the difference? Because I tell you what, the cyber criminals, they also cannot. Okay. So let's talk about phishing. Phishing, what everybody's here for. What is it? And it's really, it kind of is like traditional fishing. If you've ever been down in like the coastal waters and you've seen somebody throw a fishing net, or you've seen somebody on a big boat, like you watch one of the shows nowadays that actually like are going after tons of fish, they drop it from the boat. They cast a wide net and they're trying to catch a fish below it, right? Same thing with email phishing. Email phishing generally is an email that a criminal is sending out to hundreds, if not thousands of people, trying to get 1, 2, 3, 50 people to actually click on it. They get this information from you by trying to give you a sense of urgency to click on something within the link. And that inside that link, it's either going to give you some sort of malware, and we'll go over that. Or it's going to bring you to a site that looks legitimate to try to steal your credentials, okay? You'll see a lot of these that they actually they claim to be legitimate, like your bank. FedEx, Apple. We see that a ton. And generally, if you become so used to seeing these emails and these people trying to send you things like your banking website, if you're so used to it, you get kind of used to it. So you're just like, why not? I'll just click on it. It's not going to be a big deal. When that might not be the case. Okay. So how can phishing really impact you? Okay. Malware is becoming less and less lately, but it's still there. Emotet and TrickBot are some of the bigger ones that we saw. They went away for a long time. They came back. Super weird that they came back. Those, I always want to bring those up because those are weird ones because they're malware that sit on your computer and all they're doing is looking for credentials. That's it. All they're doing is reporting back to the bad folks. Here's credentials to this website that they've entered. I actually had someone that I'm familiar with, not a customer of mine, that actually had Emotet and TrickBot on their workstation, and come to find out, all it wanted was his 401k information. That's it. The only reason why he caught it was there was a transfer of all the money from his 401k. Luckily, bank stopped it. But these are serious things that happen. Ransomware in the news all the time. These are still a huge threat. Usually what ransomware is it comes into your workstation, server, wherever you are, and it actually locks all your files. It locks all your files and it says, we want money to go get it back, right? And oh, by the way, we need a cryptocurrency that's not traceable. So good luck with that. Data theft is another really big one, and we'll talk more about what they do with that. And if you run a business, downtime and client mistrust are huge factors, right? Client mistrust, there's some statistics out there. If you have an event, whether that be a ransomware event or just a cyber event, that the client mistrust, there's like, you'll lose 20% of your customer base. They just won't come back. They'll find elsewhere to go. That trend will probably be, staggering up and down over time. It could be more, could be less. And some of these customers could cripple your organization if you lost them, right? So I talk about phishing, but there's different types of phishing, okay? Phishing in its general sense is just sending out this cast net of tons of emails out to all kinds of people to see if you can get at least a couple to click on something. Spear phishing, that one's interesting. Spear phishing is a criminal takes a company and says, I'm going to go after this specific company. These criminals could be overseas. They could be places where, there's no jurisdiction whatsoever. And they do research, publicly available information about you to make this very crafted email attack to focus on things that might be, readily available about you. Like myself, I went to Northern Illinois University. Go Huskies. So someone that was attacking, myself, they may be going after, make it look like it's coming from NIU. Little do they know that I don't click on anything in emails, but in that scenario, they would be doing research, trying to figure out what I do for a living, where I live, to try to craft an email to specifically come after me. So pretexting, that's really just kind of looking at what's going on in the current events to try to get somebody to click on an email. A really big one right now is like COVID vaccine, questionnaires, things like that. A lot of people don't think like, hey, this could be something that's, crafted to try to get me to click on it, like a news article of some sort. So they tend to, go after people if they have like a real life scenario that they can. The quid pro quo, these you don't see as often anymore, but they still do exist. You've got someone that's offering you, money or, something. They just need your help. Just don't fall for it. Okay. We'll go over some of these emails to figure out what you should be looking for and more specifically how to identify them. We are still finding a trend that social media is a huge heavy hitter for these companies, for these individuals that are just up to no good. We see LinkedIn, Facebook, login alerts, those are all pretty common nowadays. People tagged you in this photo, click here. They're always trying to excite you to make you not think of what could be actually going on here. New voicemails. If you're in a business and you actually get your emails to your voicemails to your emails, that's a pretty good one. Actually, they tend to trick a lot of people, and I always tell people to watch out, scrutinize it as much as possible, and always go to the source. Okay. Common red flags. These are just kind of your quick. If you're looking at an email, what about the email might start to flag you that it's bad? You don't recognize the sender's email address or domain. I'll show you how to see that. It all has to do with hovering over the sending address, but that's not always best. Even if you see that one and you're like, oh, I do business with this company, you need to look at the rest of the email as well, right? If the message was sent at an unusual time. Let's be honest, most of these attacks are not happening during regular business hours. They're coming in the middle of the night. So if you're getting something and it's blasted you at 2 a.m. on a Tuesday, and it's from a company, like a payroll clerk at a company, and you're just like, why is this person sending it to me? Well, guess what? That should be your second red flag. The subject line doesn't match the content of the email. They're always trying to give you a subject line that's going to make something seem urgent. You're going to want to look at that and then actually look at the content of the email. The content has bad grammars or spelling errors. So I'll tell you, I went to a Rockford public school. Don't tell everybody. And don't hold it against me either. So the bad grammar, I don't always catch the bad grammar. I'm like the king of bad grammar. You can ask anybody that works with me. But generally, a lot of these companies, a lot of these individuals aren't native English speakers. So they're either buying the content from someone and it seems really, really well put together, but it might not be grammatically correct. Most of the companies that are going to be sending you legitimate emails are going to have like 5 or 6 marketing people that's what they do. And they have, if you ever watch an e-blast email go out beforehand, you probably have 10 people that are looking at this email, unless you have a very, very awesome marketing person like Rachel. They will catch them 100% of the time. The other thing to look for are hyperlinks or the links inside of the email are a different website, a different domain than what sent it to you. So let's say you get an email and it's trying to bring you to some weird eBay looking place, but it's from Microsoft. Okay, well that would be my first hint, right? As I hover over everything, and I'll go over this a little bit, I know that we have limited time, so I'm trying to speed this up. You're going to have to look at the hyperlinks before you click on them, or don't click on them at all, and I'll go over that. All right, so inspecting the email address. You could see here in this example, the email addresses don't match, right? It's a do not reply is who it's from, but it's really from that redirected at unitedwaypoco.org. Okay, so that's what we're looking at first. As we move down the email, we'll see it says you got new mail by OneDrive DBS. Again, Rockford Public School, I see no issues with that. However, grammatically speaking, it's not correct. So we're not, that's our first hint that this one's bad, right? Next one, we're going to inspect our hyperlink or our URL, okay? So when it's blue and then it's got the little line underneath it, if you're colorblind, it's still black. If you're looking at it, you're going to see when you hover, it actually is bringing you to Nolo's bid folder. We're looking at it, we're hovering, we're never clicking, we're hovering. We're saying, yeah, this doesn't look good. Delete it, get rid of it. Why do you need it? Don't ever click on it. Okay, this is a super busy slide. I believe this slide will make available on our website, okay? This is a bunch of really good information about how to really identify an email and it being bad, right? The date, the subject, the attachment, the context, the hyperlink, the to, the from. If something's coming to you and you're actually hidden, you see that you're blind carbon copied and it looks like it was directly to you, that's another really good hint that it might be potentially a bad email. I usually tell people there's a couple of hints with your computer. One, if it doesn't belong to you, don't plug it into your computer. Two, if you're not expecting an email from somebody and it's suddenly urgent, it's probably not legitimate. Okay. There are some new calendar attacks that have been coming out, and basically you'll see these rogue meetings put onto your calendar, and you don't know where they came from. There's actually links inside of them, and you didn't even see it in your inbox. These are new. Microsoft has actually done a pretty good job of starting to shut these down. We don't see them a ton, but they do still exist. So if you see a calendar event on your actual calendar and you don't recognize it, you don't know what it is, and there's a URL inside of it, maybe don't click on it, okay? Because it could bring you somewhere malicious. So I always tell people, what are these phishing emails after, right? They are after your data, whether that being your personal data, your financial data, your login credentials, or they're going to try to install malicious software. Most of the time, if you've covered all of your bases with your computer, you have active antivirus, you maybe are doing some DNS filtering, which I could probably even do an entire seminar about DNS filtering to try to tell you what that is. It tells your computer, it's kind of like your roadmap for street addresses. Where is this street address? DNS, that's what it does. It tells your computer where to go, okay, on the internet. So if you have DNS filtering, that could potentially save you on installing some malicious software. But let's go back to login credentials. Let's say, let me see. Oh, yeah, here we go. If you click on something and it brings you to the page, I would personally say, I would hope after me talking to you, you would never click on something. But let's say you do. Let's say you click on something and a Microsoft page opens up and it says, oh, please give me your credentials. Close it at that point. Never, ever, ever prompt, enter your credentials, username and password when you're prompted for credentials after clicking on an email. If you click on that email, just don't do it. If you, when in doubt, close it out. And then you're going to want to open it up and go directly to the known good site that you know of. So let's say you get an email from FedEx that you have a FedEx delivery waiting for you. Go to FedEx.com. Don't click on the email, okay? But if you do enter your information, there's some things that we need you to do. You're going to have to change those passwords. Actually, I think that might be my next slide. I'll go over that. First thing you do, never enter any of those credentials. If you do, disconnect from the internet, okay? If you're in doubt, also disconnect your computer from the internet and then do the next steps. Scan your computer for malware. If you don't have a good antivirus on your workstation, like Malwarebytes, Bitdefender, Weber, those are the ones that we kind of prefer. There's other ones out there. If you're using a Mac, Malwarebytes actually has a Mac version. If you're running Linux, you're probably bored to death on this whole conversation, but there are some antiviruses for Linux. Clean your web browser. If you don't know how to do this, Google search, no matter what web browser you're using, will tell you, right? Tell you exactly how to do it, how to remove extensions, how to clean your history, back up your files, okay? If you did click on something, if you end up with some sort of malware, some sort of ransomware, you need those files. And if you don't have a backup, you need to back them up at that point. And monitor yourself for suspicious activity. Monitor yourself for like bad activity on a website, on your banking website, or just call your IT provider, no matter who it is. If you're not a customer of Eder Casella Technology, call someone. Call Geek Squad. They can even help. You know, you got to do something. You can't just shut down and pretend like you didn't click on it. You need to identify it to make sure that you're not going to be at risk. Let's see if it's on the next slide. Okay, yeah. If you entered information, fraud alerting is amazing nowadays. There are so many providers that you can sign up for that will give you, a good idea if something's occurred. Like if your email and password has been breached in some sort of data breach, which data breaches happen every day. So it's actually kind of a good idea to know when this happens. So things like LifeLock, they're extraordinarily well done. And basically what you do is you sign up for it, you put in some of your email addresses, and then it monitors the dark web to see if you have anything or if your information is being sold. That's usually, once you enter in credentials, that's usually what happens. They will sell your credentials to somebody higher up to try to do bad things. Enabling web content filtering. This is another one that'll help you potentially not enter in that information. Most of the web browsers, normal, like modern web browsers like Chrome, Safari, any of those, they have the ability to have these add-ins turned on pretty easily. And they will generally tell you if you're on a bad site. So turn it on, it's free. Changing your passwords. Now, this one always surprises people because I tell them the second you've entered a username and password, it's going to try that exact same username and password everywhere. And when I say everywhere, I mean pretty much everywhere. So if you reuse your passwords, you know who you are, all of you, they're going to try that same combination everywhere that they can. Whether that being your bank, whether that is your iPass account, if you're in the state of Illinois, they're going to try everything. And they're going to get in somewhere because and undoubtedly you've used it again. So change your passwords. Change your password. If you've done it, if you've already given up your credentials, you're going to need to change it everywhere. Otherwise, those accounts, you can consider them gone at that point. Consider changing your username if you've done this. Okay, usernames should be almost as unique as your passwords in a lot of sites, right? Because if you're just using your email account and they give you the potential to not use your email account, to actually set up your own username, I would do that 100% of the time. That way, you have multiple levels where they couldn't be trying to attack your account because they don't know your username and they don't know your password because you've changed it and it's unique on all of them, right? Yes, Eric, it's going to be cool. Multi-factor authentication. I can't talk enough about multi-factor authentication. If it is available on a site, I would use it. It's annoying to get used to initially. I get it, but it's the best way to keep people out of your accounts. Multi-factor authentication being like, they ask you for your cell phone number and it prompts you, it sends you a text every time. The Google Authenticator, amazing product. Use it if it's available. If it's not available, make that password unique, use a password manager to potentially document it, or, at least if you're still old school and you're using an Excel document, password protect that Excel document for all your passwords, okay? Not saying that I recommend that method. We actually use Keeper. Keeper is an amazing product, and I can't say enough about it. LastPass is another really good one. Dashline, another good one. It just all depends on your scenario and how you're using it. If you're in a company and you are not testing, training, and retesting your employees, I think you're doing yourself a bit of a disservice. Your customer base or your employee bases is going to be your number one method in which how a threat gets in. A lot of the companies that we do business with, we tell them that this is going to reduce your attack surface drastically. If your employees look at every single email with the scrutiny of, I don't want to fail a test, you're going to see your potential clicker rate go down like so much. If you within the first year don't have a 1% click rate after doing testing and training, you're the person that did it, the training did something wrong. This will help reduce your overall risk just because there's so many things to look out for and it's changing every day. And a lot of the trainings that you can sign up for, they change every day as well to match the current trends to make sure that you're not at additional risk. Like I said earlier, Rachel and I will make sure that slide, or at least a slide similar to it, is out there on our website. So if you want some additional tips and tricks on how you can try to identify these potential bad people sending you an email, let us know. And Rachel, do we have any questions?
Yes, we do have one question from Nikki. Do you recommend shutting down your computer when it is not in use? I had a personal computer hacked because I left it on, but was not logged into any website, and it was hacked in the middle of the night.
Yeah, so this is a tricky one. It depends on the environment that you're in. I prefer either telling it to sleep, hibernate something overnight, because it does. A lot of these things, like if people are getting into your workstation, that's probably the time that they're going to do it, is the middle of the night. It's not a bad idea to turn it off. There are some scenarios where this wouldn't be the best case, like if you have a super awesome IT department and they're doing, your patching and reboots in the middle of the night, maybe don't turn it off during those days. But a simple discussion with your IT department could help you figure that one out.
That was the only question we had right now. If anyone has any other questions, feel free to drop them in. Thank you, Eric.
No problem.
And we will be hosting our next webinar, again, the second Tuesday of every month. So that will be second Wednesday, sorry. So that will be January 12th, will be our next webinar. So after this, we will be sending out a recording of this entire webinar, as well as the email examples that Eric shared. So you have those readily available. And then we will be letting you know when you can register for the one in January. Well, if there aren't any other questions, we'll let you get 3 minutes added back to your day. Good job, Eric. And we will be sending you can watch for that email the next day or so. All right, thanks everyone.